some biology of sleep really quickly as a primer. This is some really interesting stuff that you're probably not going to read everywhere. The babies sleep differently in certain ways. They go into REM sleep, which is your dream sleep, much easier, much more quickly. And in that dream sleep, you can imagine, like, if you're dreaming, it's pretty easy for someone to wake you versus when you're in a really deep sleep. Same for babies. You might notice, like, people will be nursing the baby, put the baby down. You think baby's totally asleep, and then, there's baby awake. Well, that's because usually if it were us, we would already be in a deep sleep if we had been hanging out on the breast for a while, but they're not. So that's really important to explain some things about baby sleep behavior. And they spend most of their time in that REM. So they have less light sleep and less deep sleep than we do. So just by way of that, we can see that babies just don't sleep as well as we do. They just don't sleep as soundly for the most part. Of course, some do. There's some lucky parents out there. So their circadian rhythms don't even begin to gel. Like circadian rhythms meaning everything that happens with our solar system and our sun, the day and the night. So the best tip that I give for sleep, I'll say right now, is that babies should get outside in the early morning light as early as you can to know that it's day, starting as young as you can, and that at dusk time, babies should also get outside for a walk. To feel the sun going down. Does that make sense? So those circadian rhythms will really help get babies into the kind of pattern that you're hoping for to get a little bit closer to what we want them to do because it's what we do. And then you think further on, we actually don't follow the circadian rhythms. We stay up really late at night, and then we maybe don't get up as early as people might on a rural farm. So we're just getting a little bit closer to what we want by getting them out early in the morning and at dusk. It's really, just try it. It is one of the most, like if you do it consistently, the most helpful thing for getting consistent sleep happening. Their hormones are totally scattered and very different than ours. They're sleep hormones. So we have all this cortisol in the morning and melatonin at night. Then we get all excited about our day in the morning, once we have our coffee. And then and we start getting going. And then we have this melatonin at night. We're going to calm down. Well, babies, especially for the first 3 months, opposite. So that's why we get that nighttime crying that won't stop, that some people say, oh, it's that evening colic. We don't really know what colic is. But I would say, if people ask me what colic is, and I've seen a lot of it and worked with a lot of it, if it's really about an evening time thing, I'd say, it's hormonal. It's hormonal. That's a pretty good explanation, is that they just don't feel as good. They're not having all that melatonin, but they're probably tired. So that's an interesting juxtaposition. So babies can get, newborns can get up to 20 hours of sleep or as little as 10 hours of sleep. So you might go to a pediatrician and the pediatrician will say, your baby has to have exactly 12 to 14 hours of sleep in the very beginning, and then that doesn't happen, and some parents can kind of really freak out and just start obsessing and trying to make it happen. But really, cross-culturally, we see a huge variation in the ways that babies sleep and how much they sleep and how much we, as the parents, interrupt their sleep. And in certain cultures, it's totally fine to just wake baby because you need to go do something, and have baby up in the middle of the night. Some cultures, there are middle of the night parties all of the time, and baby's up for that. So all these hard, fast rules that you might read in books, in Western parenting books, are just completely different than what happens anthropologically, biologically, in our history, etc. But optimal temperature, although that will be different everywhere in the world, we do know from medical studies here that it will be pretty helpful if you can stay with 67 to 68 degree temperature in the room and not too much clothing. And really, I suggest no blankets. Blankets could be dangerous, could be tangly, and could cause overheating.